Hello everybody and welcome to DM Writer's Room, a show where we demystify the DMing process by coming up with monsters, magic items, and worlds live. Last time we started on a world that we don't have a title for yet, but we knew that we kind of wanted to tap into the, by gaslight of it all. This thought that it is a world with electricity and power and fire that is coming from gas. As we started to nail that down, I cannot describe the process that we went through because, to be perfectly honest, it was just go watch the episode. But I can tell you where we left off. Where we left off is, this is a world where dwarves have become the major technological player because they discovered that this substance that was called shimmer, always thought of to be a curse. A miner goes down into a mine, they're chipping away, and suddenly the air around them begins to wave and shimmer, and they drop dead. They thought that it was some strange membrane that spectral killers travel on. Turns out, it is a gas. It is a clear, colorless, odorless gas that kills anybody who breathes it in because it's not oxygen. It depraves them of what they need, and they pass away shortly thereafter. More than a little problematic, but in a very boring kind of way compared to maybe what we are accustomed to. However, they soon discover the combustible element of this, and they launch the world into this new age. So that is element one of this world, right? All of these cities, the major cities of this world, are positioned on top of these gas pockets that seem to never run out, and they power and fuel the city. That's element one. That's our sort of top band. That is what a normal citizen of this world knows. And then there is the second band beneath it, which is that this is all a result of these really quite horrific creatures called, I believe tentatively, omens, or the mirage is what they are referred to as. It is a mirage of omens, I guess, in the way that there is a murder of crows. Omens are these twisted, gnarled, strange creatures that breathe out shimmer. They create this gas, and they are part of a bizarre ecosystem of interconnected creatures that eventually lead to these very large beings that vent out huge amounts of shimmer. And that's basically how these cities can sit there and never run out. Omens were thought of as rumors. They were thought to be fake. Mirages, literally, until they were discovered to be true as this gas began to be used. Those omens are the humans of yesteryear. Humanity is absent from this world. There are 9 gods, but once there were 10. The 10th god was the oldest son of the overgod who built this world and then departed. That eldest was a tyrant, viciously tyrannical. They made their own creation in the form of humanity and refused to let the other 9 do anything other than pay them lip service and create elements of the world. Those 9 conspired with humanity, tricking humans into what they could not have known would be their own demise. They tricked humanity into killing their god. In so doing, humans were inflicted with a terrible curse that would have warped and bent them. But the sudden realization of what had come to pass added an element of revenant-style vengeance to it that created basically ghostly unfinished business for all of the dying humans, and the omens were the result. Those 9 gods who did that duplicitous trick, for good reasons, but at quite a horrific cost, went on to create the other 9 races of this world, populating the world with them. And then, slowly, they began to realize that this world had a corruption, it had an infection, and it was this dead god. The rotten god is what we have them down as. All is forgotten about them other than their name. They are called the rotten god. And they create this horrible pockets of unreality. Imagine if a 10th of the world was a portal to a shadowy nothing that created creatures that wanted to kill the other 9/10ths with all of their being, and they were willing to do anything to do it. So this is an extremely dangerous world, a points of light setting, with a couple of little bits of safety. 9 great capitals, and then a few smaller settlements, cities, towns that surround them. Anytime the children, the creations of the 9 gods, gather in significant enough numbers, they can safely pass. So that is currently where we're at. It's a little bit vague, and it's time for us to start pinning down some details. But I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff for us to work on. So as I'm sort of putting my notes from last time off to the side with that summary out of the way, let me get... Where's my notepad? No! I live and die off of my notepad. Haha, I found it. My notepad. If you like to take notes while you talk or DM, I would like to strongly recommend you start picking up mini legal pads. They're just the right size to fit like in front of your keyboard, and you can still type comfortably and then jot something down. I am a little bit of an old man though, so a lot of people are like, why don't you type your notes on the keyboard? Why don't you fucking sit down, all right?
It is what I do. I do type my notes on the keyboard, but it is noisy. It is noisy.
It is. I have one thing to add, maybe a possible name for our game.
Brother.
Ooh, our world?
Yeah. Points by Gaslight.
Points by Gaslight as
A little bit of a hat on a hat, but I'll write it down.
I like Points by Gaslight as our like not catchphrase but sub name.
Sure. It puts us at sort of huge legal risk to the Cthulhu by Gaslight estate product, I would say. I'd say it puts us at tremendous IP suit risk, but other than that, I have no grievances. Just one minor problem, and it's the pending lawsuit. I just got an email.
We'll have our guys talk to their guys, make sure it all checks out.
Our guys, yeah, for sure. Spencer, get Benny on it. Tell Benny to
Benny
ring
get
him
over
up.
Nah, Noodles Pitbull. She's got it.
Noodles who I send in second, just to be a closer.
Noodle couldn't close a Tupperware. that's
She'll
not,
kill him.
Maybe
She'll attempt murder.
Noodle is a street dog. Okay, Points by Gaslight. So now my question is, I think we need to zero in. We need to figure out. We are really delving into the importance, right, of these 10 gods, the 9 and 1, and their creations. Last time we started to move in the direction of maybe thinking that ancestry, as it is often called, may be a little closer to species in this world. It seems like maybe dwarves and dwarves and elves probably cannot have biological children. It is probably like the difference between a dog and a cat, or a dog and a chimp, rather than the difference between people from one part of the world and people from another. If we go in that direction, we can. It just means we get to put our alien fantasy hats on, and things have to be pretty different. Or we can go more the ancestry route and have things be a little bit more integrated, but we can't really keep the dwarves are in charge thing, right? It doesn't make sense. It immediately breaks down if dwarves can have children with literally any other group of people in the world, because it's like, what do you mean? So the dwarves either are a villainous ethno-state, or that's not what's going on. Like, those are the two options. So it's either they're villainous ethno-state, they are a different species and have different living requirements, and so would live among their own, or we just have to do a different thing. We could just do like maybe the guy that founded it was a dwarf, and so there is a little bit of a focus. Or we can say dwarves have skin made of stone and gemstone eyes, and elves are 9 feet tall and obligate carnivores that are not allowed, that can't eat plant products. And it's like, hey, yeah, no, the rock dudes live underground because they don't need sunlight. And the obligate carnivores can't live beneath ground because they need to hunt every day. Like, those two things are true incompatible, right?
I'm cool with really messing with species.
Yeah, I think it's totally different species. The individual gods wanted to make their individual creatures. They're going to be like, yeah, let them be 1/12 elf and 1/9. They don't. It doesn't make sense for the gods' creations in this world. They made them specifically after getting out from under the tyrannical rule of whatever that god.
So they would have really like shot in different directions.
Yeah, they've been like, no. And the dwarves being in charge, it's because the dwarves are the ones who first set up shop over the gas pockets. That doesn't mean they are currently in charge of each of the 9 cities.
No, yeah, what we had,
they kicked it off.
What we'd had was they had a place of total dominance at least on that, for many, 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 many years. And at this point, things are pretty distributed. It's pretty rare for anybody to have sole control. And I think that's also fun because it makes me wonder how other groups are using that technology. Like, I love my elves, when I make my own worlds, are always carnivores because I think it's so funny for it to be like, oh, why do the elves like protect? They hold the forest and the trees and everything is sacred. And if they see you like cut a branch off of something, they flip out. The answer in most media is they simply worship the balance. And I'm like, but what if it wasn't? What if instead they are carnivores and you doing that to them is so alien and strange that it would be like somebody walking up to somebody else on the street and biting their pinky off. You'd be like, what was that? Why did you do that?
Whoa.
Right? Nobody would think that you were being strange. If you saw somebody on the street chase a pigeon down, like chase a pigeon down, break its neck and take a bite out of the pigeon, you'd go, what the fuck was that? What was that? You'd immediately be freaked out. Right? If it's just something antithetical. So let's take a little bit of a step back from there. Do we want to start by making 9 gods and then make their creations? And we know one is going to be kind of dwarf-shaped and one's going to be kind of elf-shaped. Or do we want to take it backwards and start with the 9 creations and then figure out who made them?
Let's start with the 9 creations, because in my mind, I don't think that all of them need to be mirrors of their god in any way. The god could just be really messing around and making some weird stuff. So I think creatures first would be fun. Yeah, we've got rock dwarves.
We have to start dwarves. So let's kick things off. What would you want to be true about dwarves? What are the things you like about a dwarf? What are the things that like attract you to that? I like it when their connection to the stone is not just I hate it when it's just preferential. It bothers me. This is kind of like a Forgotten Realms thing where it's like they just like it. I want them to get sick if they live above ground. Like, I want it to be essential. I want them to have this like deep spiritual, maybe medically necessary connection is always my big preference.
No, it'd be pretty interesting if it's like they have to be surrounded by stone. That way it makes sense when they're building the cities that if they build big walls of stone, they are surrounded by that stone. So it fulfills their biological requirement of being surrounded, but is not necessarily the dwarves are all underground within the same city. Because then when they're adventuring, I'm doing a really circuitous way of saying this. If a dwarf is out adventuring, how will they stay alive? I think the answer is they need to be surrounded by stone. So that dwarf is carrying an extra satchel of stones, and then they surround themselves at night, so they're surrounded by stone.
I like that. I think it's very interesting. Like, what happens? They can maybe go for like a day without it. My only other thought was they need to tread upon stone. The one we couldn't do because it's a role-playing game, but I think would be really cool, is if trolls take the position that ogres often have. If a dwarf goes out in the daytime, they turn to stone. Why do they live underground? They have no choice. If they are out in the light of the sun, they turn to stone. I don't think we can do that because it's a tabletop role-playing game. And the dwarves need to be able to go outside at night. But that's what I would do in a vacuum, right? If I was writing a novel in this world, maybe the dwarves would only be able to go out at certain times.
It could be that dwarves were, made of the stone. And so if they are not, they don't rest amongst stone. Either they don't get full rest benefits or whatever. But if they do it too much, they become stone again. Just a big pile of rock in vague Gimli shape.
Now I do love, it's some real Studio Ghibli shit. If as dwarves age, they turn more and more to stone until eventually, when a dwarf dies, it leans back and becomes stone.
Yeah,
I think would be very
really
cool. The thought that when a great dwarven hero is dying, the job of like an undertaker in this world isn't to arrive after they are dead. It's to arrive while they are dying and pose them.
Last rites.
And pose them. and like get them into position and be like, come, hold up his arm. And they pose them so that when they die, they are frozen in like a stately
super
posture.
cool.
Okay, so maybe I kind of like they can't get a long rest unless they are in the earth. That can mean you basically just like dig a hole and do that. In that case, I would like to pitch that dwarves in this world have a tunneling speed.
Hell yeah. That's fun.
Right? A dwarf
I love it. I
needs
feel like
to
tunneling, it never comes up, and I think that it should.
Okay. Sleep
Or
underground.
just say it's a good tunneling speed.
Probably 10 feet.
15, 10, yeah, something like that.
Alright, and if they have pickaxes, increase by 10.
No.
I think if they have a pickaxe, they can tunnel through worked stone. If they don't, they cannot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun. Because if they were getting 20 feet of dig speed per round, a party of dwarves would annihilate
You're
everything.
gonna have to plan your fucking campaigns
So-
with
The
an-
dwarves are coming!
with a perfect clarity that is terrifying.
Yeah, you were worried about flying. Surprise. Tunneling is the new problem.
I loved that. I've always loved that because people are like,
Yeah, the Aarakocra break campaigns.
have you never heard of an arrow dog?
Yeah,
Did
shoot
no
'em.
one tell you about arrows, dog?
Firebolt.
What are you talking
Firebolt would
about?
get
Are
'em.
you okay?
Well, they can fly higher than 300 feet.
No, they can't. What? No,
And
they
if
can't.
they can't, then what? They can't do anything from 300 feet up either. They can't do anything up there.
Being able to do that is being able to fly 300 feet straight up in the air and then stay there is like saying, great, sprint in a straight line for 45 minutes. If you stop at any point, you die. You die. Hey, you need to sprint for 30 minutes without stopping. And if you stop at any point, you immediately pass away. It's
I
like,
love that Stephen King book.
yeah, there you go. It's The Long Walk, but up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they sleep underground, tunneling speed slow, turn to stone as they age. So, are we imagining them to be made of stone? Are they like a malleable stone that hardens? Are they more like mole men? Are they a little bit more like squat with like big wide hands that are almost made for like pushing soil out of the way in front of them? Like, do we want them to be a little bit more flesh, a little bit more stone? Is it?
I like
you
having them. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that it is a progression. I think for the first 30 years a dwarf is alive, they're mostly flesh. And it's like, yeah, you can see a little bit. Like, instead of wrinkles, they get cracked. You know, stuff like that. But as they age, it does get more and more and more stone-like in appearance. And then when they're 100 years old, at the end of their natural dwarf lifespan, it's just like creaking and cracking stone every time they move. Dust falls off of them. So you get a sense of them that way. What are you going to say, Michael?
I like the thought of them being more of stone than flesh. But I like the progression too a lot.
So there's almost a okay. So we kick things off with like a malleable stone that could be mistaken for flesh, right? That could be mistaken for skin. And then sometime, basically just when you would get wrinkles.
Yeah.
Wrinkles equal stone, and then eventually they fossilize, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also think
Little
that's really
liver
cool
spots
because
of rock.
if a dwarf dies on the battlefield, they almost certainly will be destroyed, like shattered and annihilated as their body fully turns to stone. Does that happen? If a dwarf gets shot in the heart with an arrow, do they turn to stone?
Yeah, I think no matter what happens when they die, they're stone.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
that it would all happen all at once, and they would freeze.
Cause of death, turn to stone.
Wait, what if like? All right, I'm gonna be annoying. What if a dwarf dies while they're choking someone out?
I feel like the stone isn't like... Even in death, I feel like the stone is breakable. Somebody getting choked out would be able to like break the arm off.
It's like a terracotta. It's
yeah,
like a clay.
it's strong enough that if you keep it outside, it'll probably be fine. Like, it won't get destroyed by the elements. Not strong enough that a guy can't just shatter it if he wants to.
Okay. Any other big defining... Oh, so now let's talk about what a dwarf looks like in this world. What do they appear like? So if they have a tunneling speed, they need to have a way to tunnel. My first thought, right, again, is if you think about like tunneling creatures in our own world, moles and voles and whatnot, like wide, broad hands that can scoop in front of them very easily. They usually have some kind of claw. I don't think we necessarily need that. We can just sort of hand wave, right? That's why they invented the pickaxe or whatever. Is there anything else that to you guys jumps out as like, I want them to be like this? Like, there's the thing though. That's the only thing I want from them. I think it would be very fun if they have like huge hands, like disproportionate to the rest of them. If you were to compare them to an elf or to a drawing of a human, they would immediately jump out at you. And it also makes sense for them to be squat and broad through the chest in that kind of stereotypical dwarven way.
I got one. Feel free to veto. This is a free veto if you want. Magma beards.
I'm gonna give my veto because I also had a beard idea. I'm not gonna necessarily veto it, but I'm gonna give my idea too. I think that dwarves do grow beards. All of them. The women too. I'll take no
We made a
comments on
whole
that.
video about this.
A whole video about how that's important. They all grow beards. Through their time tunneling, I think that as children, they collect stones that they like. And the tradition is they like knot those stones into their beard when they come of age. And they have enough beard that they can knot them in. So it's just like a little collective thing that they do as children. To practice tunneling, find cool stuff, and then have a coming of age ceremony where they tie them all in.
Is the beard like hair?
That's a great question. In my pitch, yeah, I feel like they have hair. I think that, and then probably eventually, probably sooner than the skin changes, their hair and their beard turns into stone. And then it locks those stones into place, and that's why it's so important.
And that's why you do it as a coming of age thing, is you are choosing
like,
the parts of yourself that you will take into adulthood. I like that. That's a really cool.
Fun.
Okay, so here's a huge beards.
Sorry,
and that
I shitted all over magma, Michael.
It kind of
okay,
lets
okay.
Michael's. No, I don't think it does. Magma cools into solid stone. I kind of like the idea that dwarven beards have a little bit of a pliable stone magma quality. Maybe they're even warm to the touch. Like maybe if you hold your hand up to a dwarf's beard, it is like you can feel that it is warm in a way that I think is interesting.
Cool.
Warm hair solidifies braid-in trinkets at coming of age, right? Now that also tells me something else. There is an age where the dwarven culture says, pick your shit.
Yeah.
What's the
You
age?
better have your stones. You better have your stones collected, bud.
Yeah.
I feel like
I
that
don't
would
think.
be...
Wait, and that's the expression. I don't think you've got your stones together. You know, that's what I think. That's what I think.
You haven't collected your stones yet. I don't want to hear it from you. I think
Your mom
23.
picked your stones.
What a random fucking age. I like that. 23. Now, connected question. You're choosing who you are. We're deciding kind of how dwarven culture works. We're getting this sense, right? People who turn to we're getting into a little bit of linguistic and trait determinism here, right? If you live in a part of the world where there's where you spend a lot of time in the sun, your culture will think about the sun and spending time outside a lot, right? Dwarves turn to stone. They stop changing. Eventually, they die and they turn fully to stone. The things that you braid into your beard are stuck there forever. So there is this sense of like really intense permanence. How much is dwarven society like that? Is it symbolic? And it's like, you should know what you want to be at 23. You should know what you want. You should know who you are. That is the age where you should be an adult. You should know who you are and what you're doing. Much in the way that we think about that, right? By the time you're out of college, you're expected to know who you are, where you're going, and what you're doing. And if everyone in your family is super cool with you changing it up at 30, you probably have kind of a cool and laid back family. You probably don't have kind of a normal family unit in the background. So the question is, in dwarven culture, when you choose at 23 your vocation and you braid in these things and you assign them meaning, are you locked into like a caste system? Is it not caste C-A-S-T-E, C-A-S-T? Have you cast yourself in your role and you are done? Hey, that's who you are now. You decided to be a warrior, and that is what you will be. You decided to be a smith. You decided to be an apprentice. You decided to be a brewer. No. There is no changing jobs. There is no second vocation. If you want to do that, you are not a dwarf anymore. Go live above ground, right? That's the one extreme. The other extreme is, at 23, you pick what you're supposed to be. And if you meet a dwarf who has... like, dwarves would be able to read all of those little trinkets. So if a dwarf met another dwarf who wasn't doing the job that aligned, is there maybe just like a little like, like would they maybe look down their nose a smidge? But it's not like a cultural foundation that you choose and you stay where you choose.
Of mind, the first extreme, and it's written in stone. It is etched on your body what you have chosen.
I agree with Michael, and I think that they call it like breaking your beard if you go against the oath. And the rule is you're banished from their society essentially. And they break it off, or you break it off, the beard and the trinkets, and it doesn't grow back. It is stone. That once it's broken off is gone. So if you don't have that anymore, you're basically like I don't know, an apostate of the dwarven society.
Yeah.
They've thrown you out and they've broken your beard.
And now, how intense is that? Are you now a pariah and a socially shamed character, or are you not allowed back in the city?
I think you're not allowed back in the city.
Yeah.
I think once you're out of there, it's pretty chill. Like elves.
I was curious if
care.
it was like a sacred, like you're not allowed in sacred sites, or you aren't allowed below ground in the city. Is it straight up like you are out of this city? You are gone. You are done. You are out. I think you're not
the
one city that was the first, and that the dwarves are like majoritively in control of.
I think that you're not allowed in dwarven spaces. So that would be like their below ground shelters, whatever we'd end up calling those, in their holy locations, all that. And that would probably be pretty pervasive outside of just their hold. That would be everywhere. But if you meet another dwarf on the street, they're not going to spit on you, probably. They're just going to be like, ugh.
What I really like about
sucks.
that is that tells me that I bet almost all of the 9 cities of this world, 9 great cities, we've said there are others, but the 9 great cities of this world, almost all of them are entirely above ground, and they are fueled by the gas below. The one where they discovered the properties of Shimmer is 70% underground and 30% above ground. And the first people to settle above ground were beard-broken dwarves who were like, who took one step outside and sat down and put up a tent. And the next day a guard came up and was like, "What? Get out of here." And they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You said I wasn't welcome in the city. I'm not in the city. Like the next day.
Take a look at the flag. It's a handmade flag behind them.
What's up, shit snacks? And so now there is a, like, essentially like a big town built on top of a city and is there for very practical reasons. I also think that's very funny because I bet it made being beard broken much more common in the capital, because it's like,
It was like, oh,
sorry, I go
That's not so
live up there. Like I have to travel.
fine.
It's not a huge deal. My parents can come visit me if they want to. They probably won't, but they could. Okay.
Because the other dwarves are gonna talk if they go above.
They're
So,
gonna talk. They're gonna talk. Okay. So my last questions here as we're sort of wrapping up the dwarf chapter of it all. How much of a monoculture, right? They're all unified. I think that a lot of that's going to be going around. And in real life, that doesn't usually happen. That's because our gods aren't physically manifest. Like, even if you do believe, it's not like you look at another Christian and you're immediately like, I know you, brother, without saying you wordlessly connect and know, right? It's not a unified, perfect, deific connection. In this world, it might be a monoculture, like it might be. No. These are passed down teachings. Like, these are real. They are corporeal. They are findable. They are true.
I do think so, because this world doesn't feel massive to me. I don't know if that's true for you guys either. At least the, like, settled world where these cities will be located.
I think it might take up a large space. I don't think there's a lot of shit. Like, I don't think I think there's a lot of uncharted, terrifying wilderness. I think a map of this world is literally like a world map with 9 dots on it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I feel like the dwarves were given teachings by their god that lives below ground. Those dwarves had kids, and they had kids, and they had kids, and they had kids. They're just in these locations. They haven't, like, spread out and intermingled and moved around and changed their
That's my
ideas.
next question.
Because it is there. Like, it's all written right there. Nothing to change.
So this was my next question. This is kind of a cultural question. What is dwarven society like to other society? We know how dwarven society is to itself, and it's pretty much all in that one sentence, right? You choose your job, you hold to your vocation, you are a part. That tells me 1,000 things. Number one, dwarves see themselves as a part of a whole. You fill a role, you help make everything happen. When you die, you turn to stone, and congratulations, you are now a physical part of the world where you were. Like, it is total. I think that's all really good. Now, how do they interact with others, right? Are they aggressive expansionists? Do they seek to tame this addled and dark world, and they are, I don't know, the Klingons in this world, and they're like, war! And they march under the light of the sun every day to go do things and then bury themselves underneath? Or are they the opposite? Are they, like, highly insular? They don't interact with anybody? Do they have a lot of trade? Do they have a lot of commerce? Like, what are they like when they interact with other people? I think the only thing that has to be true is I think that starting a new dwarven city, I think, is probably quite rare. Just because it takes a really long time. It's harder to build underground than overground. Like, it just is more difficult. And doing it in a way where nothing collapses and where there's no huge issues. So I think that dwarven cities are more likely to just get bigger and bigger and bigger below ground. Like, they just constantly expand and grow and grow and grow. So the question then is just like, how do they interact with other people? Are they like a warlike people that, march on unto others at this point in history? And we can say that. We can say this is how they are when we meet them,
right now.
Right? Because there's a huge swath of time. Well, I can't actually say that about here. I was about to say, America right now, right? We are less in, like, aggressive expansion into other people's sovereignty, but it seems like that's going to change in, like, the next 6 months. But, like, for a while, we had a pretty good run for a while there, and then things got real weird in the 2000s. I don't know why. Where are we landing here?
I think that the dwarves, in my mind, are really insular. I think that they understand the necessity to have the other species amongst them, and so are open to that. But they're not like hugely keen on it. I think that they have all the things they need below ground. Everything else is secondary. That's why it's all like our people stay where they are and they do the things they need to do, and they don't concern themselves with the rest. I think that there's trade. I think that dwarves probably have created quite a bit, like with the gaslight inventions, and that's probably where their connection is. But the dwarves aren't like, let's go take over that town. They don't care about that.
So
town. Why would they?
So they're insular, but they're not xenophobic.
Yeah.
They don't fear and tell the outsider to leave. They're just like, I don't need anything from you. There's nothing for us to trade. And if they do, and if somebody from the outside does show up and starts like really actively trying to trade, the dwarves will like be polite. But there is always this sense of like, when are you leaving?
Yeah, this isn't your house.
What are you here for? I was curious to learn about you. Oh, okay. And then they'll leave and they'll be like, I guess they're going to be around for a while. And it's just a little bit of a like, great. No, it's fine. It's good. Yeah, you're curious.
If I can make one thing true with our world, I think that there is one species that loves these guys. They want to be part of them so badly. And the dwarves do not. Like, they don't hate them, but they're like, I don't want this.
It is so funny if one of the key peoples, one of the godborn of the world, are like the kobolds, and they are another tunneling species, and they're like, I just feel like we could work really well together. It's like, okay.
I could see that. I could also see like some god of connection or camaraderie.
Oh no, not like an internal, like an inherently friendly.
Yeah, and it's like they're the toughest nut to crack, but we're gonna get there one of these days, guys.
I like the idea a lot that one of the species of this world, essentially, like, they don't eat food, they photosynthesize through social connection.
Hear me out. Changelings being the creator race that is meant to bond with other people. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That's really funny.
That would be, yeah, I like that. They could be like the messengers group. They they're not nomadic because they need a city, but they're the in-betweeners.
It is so fucked up to be like, oh, so like dwarves need to sleep below ground for 8 hours. Oh, what does like this guy's people need to do? They need to talk for 4 hours every day.
Yeah.
Do they sleep?
They need friends.
No, but they need to have a conversation for 4 hours. Like, they need to talk. It can be spread throughout the day a little bit, but if you really think about it, how long do you spend conversing with other people over the course of a day? I kind of love the idea that at the end of like a long political negotiation, if one of the things that makes changelings kind of difficult to interact with is you have like a 9-hour intense war debate about what needs to be done, and the changeling in your party leaves and they feel like they just drank a big energy drink. They're right.
Push-ups.
They're like, let's go to the bar, let's keep this rolling. Everybody else exhausted, pounding headaches, strained eyes, the changelings doing cartwheels down the street. You're like, great.
Hilarious.
No, good. No, it's good that you're here.
I mean, I like that. So we'll mark down
fun.
changelings as another god race.
Okay, so now, who made the dwarves? Let's learn a little bit about this god, about the maker.
Warhammer.
What?
I was about to do a D&D joke.
There you go.
Wow.
Warhammer Dwin.
Some shit. I don't know.
Dwin. Okay. We've already established that they don't need to be hyper similar.
The Mayo tradition is putting us at risk of IP suit. That's what the two of you do. It's your favorite thing to do is to go,
Oh, yeah.
let's do this well-known series convention. And I'm like, yeah, that'll be fine. That won't blow back. No. Okay, so
Mardhammer
Twin.
Yeah,
So
there it is.
let's not start with an arbitrary name. As much as I listen, I can just start churning out dwarven god names. I want to know about this fool. Are they, first of all, are the gods of our world smiling, bodied, gendered creations? Or are they, like, how far into strange do they go? Like, how far?
I feel like we angle towards strange, unknowable gods a lot.
That's because every time we ask about gods, I go, what if they were strange and unknowable?
We can't
I
know.
What if they were?
What if they're horrors beyond mortal comprehension?
They don't need to be horrors, but I always prefer my divinities to be beyond mortal comprehension.
I feel like in this one instance, it would be more fun for them to be like Forgotten Realm style gods, because they are below ground and can really only interact in very minor ways. So it doesn't really matter that they're superhuman and knowable, because you are probably not going to get to know them.
No, it's just I like the other side of the coin. They are like the Greek gods. These are deeply flawed, somewhat corporeal beings. There is an assumption, right, that a god can be killed, and that if you kill it, it's like, well, yeah, he's dead now. Oh, do you pray to him still? Why would I? He's dead. Do you ask if your father dies, do you ask him to help you till your field? He will not respond. He is gone from this place. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I think a good way to think about these gods would be to say they've only ever agreed on two things. One, they needed to kill their older brother. Two, they needed to put themselves below ground to figure out what's going on with the world and keep their people safe. Otherwise, as different can be between some of the gods. Some of them are probably friendly.
So, did this create its creations in its own image? Is this a big dwarf?
I think
my first thought is that it is like it is what we think of as a stereotypical stone construct.
Yeah.
It is like a massive...
I was thinking the same thing.
Almost... I like the idea, in my mind, this is, I think, I don't have any problem with it being a god of the forge. And I like that each of the gods made themselves, right? My first image is maybe when there were the 10 gods of the world, the 10th, the eldest, had physical form and refused to let the other 9 be anything other than forces. Right? The only time you saw this dwarven god was when in the eruption of volcanoes and fire sweeping across hills and in the stone of the earth. And then suddenly it was able to make a form for itself. And so it carved itself a body. And so I like the idea that this thing looks mechanical. It is iron and stone. It is a construct. And this god's big thing is it is the god that built itself, that constructed a body for itself. It didn't just create one. It didn't mold one. It didn't, shape one out of clay. It built a body, and that is what it occupies now. And that's why the dwarves are associated with the forge and gas and steel and iron. Is their god is a construct. It is a machine god.
Can I hit you with a world secret here? When the gods buried themselves below ground, if this god that made his own form shirked that form to encompass, like, around the center core of this planet, all of the gods behind a divine wall, essentially, so they can't get pickaxes through, when his children eventually dig all the way to the middle, their pickaxes will bounce off of it. That was sort of a sacrifice that he made, was lose that form that everybody attributes to him and he attributes to himself, and instead become a circular wall. I think would be pretty fun.
So this god is basically like a Dyson sphere around the core of this earth, protecting. And that's also cool because that's why the omens have never found the gods.
Yeah.
They search and 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 they never find them. And the great secret of this world is they never will. They can't. It will never come to pass. That is fun.
I have a suggestion for the name and what it is then also. It's type of rock, but it sounds like a cool name. Olivine.
Olivine's sick.
Olivine is
I was thinking Ignatius, and that's stupid as hell. And I wasn't going to say it out loud.
Olivine, Olivine. It's olive green to yellowish green, And this divine wall is probably that rock.
That's cool.
It looks like a cool rock too. You guys want to look it up?
Hey,
But-
I just looked it up. The rock is really cool. The idea of a paladin having a reliquary, a dwarven paladin having a reliquary that is an olivine stone in their beard that they get their magical power from, and it's just a fragment of that divinity.
Yeah, this
Sick
rules.
as hell.
This is
Yes,
it.
it is.
I'm into this. Olivine. Okay. So the machine god Olivine, maker of the dwarves, it crafted a body for itself out of stone and steel, made its children, and then when it saw the horrors of the world, the gods held council, and although no one knows why, Olivine was the first to leave. Olivine left years before the other gods did, burying itself below ground, and what no one knows is Olivine went ahead to make a home for the others. It dug its way to the center of the earth, built a new body for itself, and began to inhabit it, and then its siblings came to stay. They are all in the great guest room of Olivine.
Hell yeah.
Do we need to know anything else about this guy? So, what are some domains? I mean, right, forge, the forge, crafting, creation, technology.
I could see like a devotion being one of the things under this guy. That commitment
think that's
to your
perfect.
job.
Because it's the
Yeah.
commitment to the job for the dwarves is deeply religious and profound, but it's also true in real life. If you want to be good at something, you need to pick. I know it sucks, but you can't be good at drawing and talking and math and medicine, and you can't be good at 5,000 things. You can pick like 3 things to be good at if you're really lucky, like if you're really talented. You can, unless of course you're rich, and then you can pick 100 things because you don't do anything all day. But you know, the
True.
average person's not rich. So forge, crafting, and devotion. I like that. And specifically, I like the idea that Olivine is a god of any craft you are devoted to. Or I love the thought that an orator, like a speaker, will pray to Olivine if it is their if it is your lifelong vocation. You can't be somebody who jumps from job to job and prays to Olivine. Olivine will give you, not only give you nothing, may send you banes for your flippancy. Like
Olivine being like a common bard god is really funny to me.
where it's
really
like
funny.
they are devoted to the music. That is what they do
Yeah.
all day and all of the night. Olivine will speak to you and will see you as one of their children in a very real way.
This is my rock god. But tis.
All right, pretty good. So there we go. I think that's number 1 done. We're gonna be, guys, look forward to the next 13 episodes of this series.
Hey,
No.
I think we did that pretty good.
They are
Yeah.
good. Listen, this is why we talk a lot about, we enjoy making stuff on this channel. Our goal that we will return to as we continue to adopt and adjust to our changing lives as we sprint into our 30s was to make these things as a group and then publish them in some way. Some people may notice that we have published 3 things after, 2.5, 3 years.
One a
of doing
year.
this show.
What a year.
The main thing this show has given me, it's given me 2 things. Number 1, I am much better at coming up with stuff on the fly. Again, I recommend that you do some little writer's workshop with your D&D friends that's like this. Come up with a world together. It's a blast, and it'll make you better. Number 2, the other thing I've learned is this shit takes so long. People who think that they can write up a real built world. It's making me like more being like, hey, what are we running in? Fucking Eberron, dude. Why? I don't
They already
have
built it.
time for this. Like,
Now, the third thing it's given me, time with my
Gotcha.
friends.
time with my friends. Time
Oh.
with my friends. Time with my friends. What's up? What's up?
Ah,
So,
it's better than mine.
next, the changelings. We know one very
Oh,
important. We
yeah.
know 2 very important things about changelings. Number 1, they do change form, actually, and number 2, they feed off of social connection. They
Now, hear me out.
need every day to speak and know people, and I think it doesn't hit as strong from other changelings. I think
Yeah.
that it's 4 hours of communication if you are speaking to a diverse and sundry group. I think if it's a bunch of changelings talking to other changelings, I think it takes 8 hours. I think it takes twice as long for them to
It's
get the
junk
same fill. Yeah, it's junk food. It's like empty calories.
I think that changelings can't change their form to something that they haven't communicated with within a certain amount of time. So if they've talked to a dwarf within the last week, they can become a dwarf. If they have not talked to a dwarf within the last week, they cannot become a dwarf.
It's fun.
Now, my other big question.
Changeling vampire is what we're making right now. Sorry. Go ahead.
It is similar, and I think that's good. I
Yeah.
think that makes a lot of sense.
It's cool.
We can even say that in this world, the first, maybe not, I don't think all vampires are changelings in this world. I like the idea that the first one was. That the first one, that what is the origin of vampirism in this world? A changeling who bastardized their powers and made a plague that now anybody can become a vampire. But if you were to trace back the magical thing that happened that made the first vampire, it was a changeling using magic to rewire their own feeding. And they made it, instead of a social connection, just straight up blood. Like,
Introverts, am I right? Do anything to get out of a conversation or two.
what I also like about that is maybe vampires in this world are feeding off of truly like your potential, like all the people you won't meet. That's what they're eating. The blood is largely
Wow.
coincidental. Like, that's, maybe they do prefer. What it also does, this is really funny. It also would mean that they would prefer people in like a very specific age bracket, like people that are in those novels between their 20s and 30s, because historically, right, the average kid, there's a reason you had 6 kids in 1812. The average kid, it's like, I'm going to suck that kid's blood. Oh, how much life you're gonna get out of it? I might get none. But that kid,
One drop.
that kid might have gotten tuberculosis in 2 years. Whereas if you hit somebody in their like early 20s, you're like, oh, this is going to be a
feeling
good.
good.
Like, it's just
Yeah.
gonna hit. Okay, so they feed off of social connection. They must have spoken to somebody to change form. Huge form changing question.
Yeah.
Can they look however they want, or do they look like themselves, swapping the species in the character creator?
That's a great question.
I like playing a changeling that can change the way they look, and it's totally under their own control, just because I think that's a fun trope. I'm not attached to it, and I think it also might be fun if it is instead. I like the idea of them swapping species because I think that's new and interesting, and I haven't really heard of that. I also really like the idea that they can turn into whatever they want, because my favorite character concept I've never gotten to run in D&D is a changeling who wants to become the world's greatest spy, and his whole thing is not the like big avant-garde James Bond crazy explosions. It's the gray man, where it's like, I change the way that my face looks in small, imperceptible ways every 5 seconds. Like, it's constant. His nose, he talks to somebody, turns, talks to 2 other people. When he goes to talk to the 4th person, his nose slightly changes shape, his eyes slightly change color, his hair gets a little longer. And so it's like, he looked like this. And then other people describe him a little different, and a little different, and a little different. And so you can never really get him pinned down. I can kind of go either way and be pretty happy about it.
My pitch is it depends on how charismatic you are. If you're able to really change yourself, how much did you really talk to these people?
Oh, can you
this week.
really like wheedle in and learn and connect? Is it so? There is now we are like right left of some Brandon Sanderson investiture bullshit, where it's like, how many could he achieved the 6th christening or whatever the fuck? Okay. I like that. So it's based on your charisma. The changeling page in our world book has a little chart. How high is your charisma? That determines how much you can change your appearance.
And it could even include like how much you can change your appearance, and it could include alternate time limit stuff. So if you've got a 0 to your charisma, you have 1 week or 1 day after you talk to a species to transform into it. If it's a 2, you've got a week. If it's a 5, you've got a month. You can transform into anything you've talked to in the last month if you've got a charisma of 5. And then if you've got a charisma of 5, you can also fine tune the way you look.
5 being 20.
Yeah, plus 5.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's really fun. I think that's an interesting idea that it's like dependent. I like that socially inept changelings struggle. Like it would be strange. It would be seen as, I think to them it would be seen as like quite a severe handicap if somebody is just like not very social. Although now we're getting into the real thing, which is like it is currently a subject of psychological debate. If being an introvert is anything other than like a trauma response. Like if you grew up in changeling society, would there be introverts? If everybody talks every day and needs to share and speak, and I don't know, I had a psychology professor in school who famously would say every day, said on like the first day when we were introducing things, that introspection, like being an introversion isn't real. You are socially traumatized and need to get over it. I was like, oh, they got in I'm not going to name them. They got in like a huge argument. I think, Spencer, you might have been in that class. They got in like a giant argument with a student on the first day who's like, I am an introvert. And they were like, no, you aren't. There's no such thing as an
You just
introvert.
don't like it.
You might have trouble in social situations, and so you avoid them. That doesn't mean that you are in some way drained of your mental energy by them. It means that you... Now, I don't know if that's true. It is a debate I have heard.
What that person said. Here's what I will say. I think that even in changeling culture, it would still exist because they would have parents and siblings that interact in different ways.
Is it thought of as like a death? Is it like...
It's like,
is it like a child being born, I don't know, being born like without lungs? Like, is it a big deal? Or is it just seen as a social, like, oh, that fucking guy?
I think it's like it's like a sad, oh, he's not gonna thrive.
Yeah, he won't experience the world in the way that we think they should. And that sucks. But
Okay.
he can still go grab a pickaxe or whatever and do a job. It's just not going to be really useful for the collective.
No, I think that's really important. So introversion is seen as tragic.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. And I think that would make, for the introverted person, that would make staying in changeling society a living hell. Because everybody would go up and talk to you. They'd be like, oh, I must start the conversation with him. Like, that happens everywhere you go. All the time. If they know you in any way, they're like, oh, I know you have troubles. And he's like, don't have troubles. I just don't want to talk to you. Like, and he's no, it's
honestly,
fine.
specifically, you.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm willing to be a gracious host. And you're like, thank you. The thought that it's really like kind of a minor like inconvenience and other people treat it as like, I will be gracious and speak to you for 1 full uninterrupted hour. And this guy's no! Yeah, exactly. Screaming to the heavens.
So we've got the changelings. I feel like they are not necessarily a nomadic people, but not as big of a collective as dwarves by any stretch. I think that it's smaller groups of changelings that will go to locations or go into sections of a town or different cities to expand their reach, I guess.
With a soul, I only have one side. The changeling capital needs to be New York City.
Yeah.
The changeling capital is a port city with a river and roads, and it is
so much entertainment,
massive and huge. It is titanic and is full of people at all times. And like, I think that being a non-changeling, I think it is a very attractive place to go, because I bet there are like subsidies. They want outsiders there, so I bet you don't pay as much for a lot of stuff. I bet you get like weird steep discounts because they're like, if you stay and speak to people in the bar, your room is free. And you're like,
100%.
That's
like, all
really
right.
good.
It's
It's like going to a casino and gambling enough money that they give you like free night,
Yeah.
free food or drinks. It's exactly like that. Come
This
to the
is
town.
The description of the first amusement park.
Yeah, it's a big minecart roller coaster that they just built out of dwarf stuff.
Okay. I like all that. I think that's really cool. I like that the huge trade commerce hub, the place you could go where life would feel the most like our lives is the changeling capital. And I think that the changeling population of the changeling capital is like 40%, and that they're like, we would love for it to go down. It's far too much. Like,
We're aiming for 30 by the end of the decade.
we're aiming for 30. We're going to, a mayor runs on, I promise to have locals make up only 25%. But then they're like, well, he can't keep the promise, but it's good that he's got his priorities straight. Just aggressively pro-immigration. We have not answered the most important question. What does a changeling look like when they don't look like someone else?
I feel like the most common thing is like a featureless gray,
Like a mannequin.
yeah, like humanoid shape.
I like
Michael?
it.
See, I want to go the opposite because they are this extroverted, like happy-go-lucky. I'm picturing like instead of like the shadow, it's like a bright light. It's a beam. It's an orb.
Yeah, so like a floating aura that is a person that wants to chat.
So they're like
That's
a will-o-wisp?
really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super cool.
Is this where will-o-wisps, the like legend of the will-o-wisp in this world, was it just early changelings trying to, it's like, oh, they'll lure children into the woods. And it's like, yeah, they did.
Yeah, to
The
talk.
will-o-wisps would like lead people back to the will-o-wisp commune. And
Mhm.
all of these floating balls of light would like, what do you do? I also like
That's
that because
awesome.
that means that if a will-o-wisp doesn't talk to a member of another species for too long, they lose their physical body.
And they're like, oh, I can't eat. No.
Their clothes just all whoomp down to the floor, and they're like, son of a bitch.
So good. The
I
idea
can't
that
communicate now.
I feel like changeling isn't the term that the changelings use for themselves. They might call themselves wisps. I think that that's pretty cool.
I like it.
This is my favorite fucking thing we've ever come up with on DM Writer's Room. Oh, I just lost signal to everybody. It's just me here. Hey, YouTube. It's your boy. We're in a little bit of technical difficulties here, so I'm gonna switch over to the bio break. Oh, are you back?
Yeah.
Hey,
All right. Are we all back?
I'm back. Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yep, a little bit of a
I
delay.
hear
I
you.
Yeah.
I realized halfway through what I was talking to, and then I just told YouTube I was gonna go to bio break, but I guess I'm not.
See, that whole time I heard you, Ethan, but Spencer,
I could
you were frozen. I couldn't hear you though.
I could hear Ethan. I couldn't hear Michael. James Hurst in the comment section.
James!
What
Hey,
up?
James said, night class is over. Woohoo. Once they take form, what if they start out as a used car salesman? Introverts can start as librarians. I love that. That's a very funny thought.
That's certainly the
It's
vibe.
probably if they have like jobs, 100%.
This is making a new world from scratch and taking it at first principles is such a joy. It is so fun to be like, no. To the studs, what do they look like? What is their culture like? Don't reference. What do you think they would be like based on what you know? Like, that's so fun.
I think like a dream job of these wisps is like traveling merchant.
Traveling merchant.
Yo,
Hey,
yeah.
Every changeling politician is the most annoying, happy-go-lucky son of a bitch you've ever met. Like, they are.
They really love shaking hands.
So now, some like connected changeling questions. I'm gonna start talking about like fringes where I see problems. Right. We've done the smiling, cool parts. How manipulative are changelings? What do changelings think of lying? if they are a strictly social group that can look however they want, if they don't speak to enough people, they are become a floating blue orb of energy, and maybe that is its own joy. Maybe sometimes they can, I imagine, return to that form at will. How do they view the importance of the way you speak to other people? In a changeling's mind, is it important to be kind? Is it important to be courteous and truthful and honest? Or is it important to be entertaining and to speak?
I think they are whatever gets people listening. If I lie and that gets people to listen, awesome. If me being like my heart-wrenching true story is what gets people to listen, they do it.
I think obviously there needs to be a taboo against lying to harm others, because that just naturally comes up. But I wonder if the default assumption in the changeling society is if somebody's telling you a story, it is a tall tale. It's like, no, that's the default. If somebody tells you a story and it's 100% exactly what happened, I would like the idea that that would be seen as like a rude. Is that seen as, in my mind, I would like it if that was rude. If it's like telling an unalloyed, boring story is rude in changeling culture. It's seen as like a faux pas. You're saying that the other person isn't worth you coming up with a better story. And so it's like, it's seen as like a huge slight is my first thought. Spencer, what were you going to say?
The two faux pas I was going to hit. One, true lies you don't do to other wisps. You don't lie to the other people that are liars. Sort of a rogue's rule. Two, it's if you get caught lying in a bad way by another culture, that's bad. Because if you are negatively lying, that's going to impact the view of those cultures on the rest of the wisps. And if that happens, all of a sudden, those doors are closed, and we can't talk to those people anymore. You've screwed us out of our mortal forms. We're going back to being wisps again, and that's not fun.
So what I'm writing is hurtful, harmful lies are a huge taboo.
Mm-hmm.
A harmless lie of any kind, I think, is seen as seen as like a kind thing to do. Like the thought of you, if there is a child watching, plug their ears. If the thought is like Santa Claus is real, to them would be the best thing about our society. They would be like, humans are a good and kind race. They would hear about the Tooth Fairy and Santa and presents under the tree, and they would be like, you are a good people. Like they would be sold instantly on it. Whereas, so that's very funny. That tells me that like changeling politicians are probably actually do have like a very hard job where they are expected to speak, to say they will do more than they can. That is expected of them, but not too much. Not enough that it harms. That must be actually quite a delicate little tightrope walk to sort of engage with. So I'm going to add like tall tales, normal, and I would like to pitch, unless either of you want to shoot it down, telling a unalloyed story is seen as like quite rude.
Yeah. And I love the introvert wisps being like, yeah, and that's how I lost my library card. Oh, and then a car almost hit me. And like, okay, you got it in just barely.
and then it sprouted legs and ran away or whatever. Like it's very expected.
Good.
Okay.
So we kind of talked about how like what they would call dwarves if they're like a negative connotation for the dwarves. My pitch for what Wisp would call people that are they give the non-alloyed stories is like a script follower.
Oh, he's scripted. He's scripted.
Yeah, he's not adding more.
That's a perfect bit because that is a common insult that is thrown at tabletop role-playing game
Oh, it's
Yeah.
scripted.
actual
Yeah.
place is that it's scripted.
True.
So I love that the most bitter insult a changeling can give is that somebody is scripted. They're just, what do you mean? They just say exactly what happened, like some kind of robot. They're scripted. Like, it's
Those
disgusting.
freaks.
Yeah. Okay.
Ethan, if you can hit our listeners with a quick recap of the 2 things that we've done thus far, I'm going to grab a quick drink, but I know
Yeah.
James, I think, missed the beginning.
So we're working on this world that we're calling tentatively Gaslight. We're going to have to change that name for sure. The first
Candlelight.
were the dwarves. We decided that dwarves are made of like a malleable stone in this world, and over the course of their life, they turn slowly into like hard stone, and when they die, they shift into a fully stone body, and that's how you know that they are dead. They go stiff. And so, great nobles will be posed in the moments where they are dying. But counter to that, if you shoot a dwarf in the heart with an arrow, they turn to stone. When that happens, when they pass away, they can tunnel through the ground. They have like broad hands and broad shoulders, and they have these long beards that they weave stones into. And on their 23rd year, that beard begins to turn into stone, and those things are set. And once they are set, you are expected to adhere to them for the rest of your life. Which I like, because that tells me that as their beard turns to stone, that tells me there is a period where you are allowed to flip-flop. There is a time where you're allowed to say, like, I'm not sure I'm interested. But once the stone has come through, it is done.
That's so cool. Sorry to interrupt your recap. It's so cool to have like the first one be so core to who you are that you're not worried about having to change it. Where it's like, this symbolizes friendship. I will never betray a friend. And then it goes down to the next thing. It's like, I'm really pretty sure about this one. And the next one's like, I'm pretty sure on this one. That's really fun.
And it gives you kind of a deadline. They, if you do that, you are called Beard Broken. You are sent out and away, and their god is Olivine, the machine god, a god that made itself out of stone and iron and steel. The first to leave when the gods declared that they would slumber, that they may protect their creations for all time. Olivine went first, and the others followed. And he is the god of forge, crafting, and devotion. Anyone who devotes themselves to a single craft for their entire lives prays to Olivine and receives blessings. There is incentive for everyone in this world to adhere to the thing that they have a shine for. I'm going to tell you right now, when we eventually run a game in this world, I am going to play a mercenary who prays to Olivine, where it's like, what did you do? When did you know what you wanted to do? Not even maybe a dwarf, because that would be fun. I love the idea of playing like an elf who's like, when I was 5 years old, I got in my first fight. It was the most beautiful thing I ever did. And it's like, I signed up to be a soldier. There wasn't enough fighting. There was too much hurry up and waiting. I signed up to be a mercenary, and all I did was fight, baby. And they are just, and they pray to Olivine, and it's like, oh, are you a woodsmith? Are you a crafter of craft? And he's like, I kill. Olivine, guide my hand.
My
on
craft
the
is
field today. It's so good.
And Olivine makes all my weapons sharp forever. And here we are.
Yeah. I really like that. I think that's really fun.
Yeah.
And of course, then we moved on to changelings, which we decided are, sort of historical will-o-wisps. They begin as like floating blue orbs. And when they speak to a member of another species, they can become that species. They can take on a physical body, interact with the world. They can build, they can grow. And that their great capital is this massive metropolitan trade hub. And that they not just welcome, they like desperately implore outsiders to come, and they offer, probably quite great reward for simply attending. Lying in harmful ways is seen as hugely taboo because it's vital to the changelings that they are a trusted people, that they will be spoken to and welcomed and ingratiated. Being a group that must share stories and speak instead of sleeping. They talk for 4 hours. 4 hours to members of other races, 8 hours to their own. Other species, 8 hours to their own. And then our last two, tall tales are seen as normal, and it is kind to spice up a story. Telling a very plain recounting of events is a very rude, standoffish thing to do. And
don't read a changeling history. it's not going to be
Don't.
useful.
And they crave dwarven friendship because the dwarves are so insular, and they're the most bitter insult a changeling, a wisp as they call themselves, can offer is that somebody is ascripted. Their words are written down. They are following a script in daily conversation. They add no spice. They add no seasoning. They don't adjust for the people they are speaking to. I love the idea that there is only one kind of theater in changeling society, and it is improv. Why? Because if you're not adapting for your audience, you're being rude, is how they would see it. I think is very fun. I've got bad news for people who think that Shakespeare always did this shit the same way every time. I got bad news. All right. Who made the wisps?
I do have a name suggestion.
Let's go. Michael on name duty. What's up?
Michael, we got Michael on the ones and twos over here.
Thea. Is short for theatrics.
Sorry,
Thea's
Theatrix, Theatrix,
That's
and they
fun.
it's so fucking funny. My
really
favorite
fun.
stupid fantasy trope, if I ever write a fantasy novel, it'll be in it 300 times, is when the author goes to great pains to explain to you the local world reason why they have a word that is identical to our world's word. I love
Huge.
that. When somebody fully pulls the car of the story over, they go, hey, I know I was telling a story. We're going to stop for 5 minutes while I tell you why these people have the word paladin, even though they didn't have the Crusades. And they just stop, explain that for 10 minutes, and then move on, I think is really funny. So do we like Thea? Like Theya?
Yes. Thea, I think, is perfect.
And I think that the first temples to Thea were places to come and tell stories, and they were theaters, right? It's like right there.
Yeah.
It's effortless.
Yep.
And in this world, a theater, in our own world, theater comes from the Greek theatron, which means seeing place. I think in this world, theater comes from theater, which would be considered the equivalent of saying like story place, like a place to tell and hear stories.
I like it.
What is Thea like? If we have the machine god, what is Thea like? What do they look like? The machine god always is depicted as a construct of stone and metal, made as if by incredible craftsmanship. I think that great dwarven smiths who make beautiful will occasionally make a traditional offering in dwarven society, right? Is you make a beautiful arm, like a beautiful construct arm, and you throw it into a lava flow. It is a gift.
Yeah.
It is a gift to Olivine. I think that's very fun.
I think that Thea has 2 heads, and each head has 5 faces on it, and they are indicative of the 10 races, but one of those faces is never shown. That's the human face that's been like ripped out.
Yeah, is it like carved away, or is it always to the back?
Always to the back, I think, makes sense.
Wait, how does the head? Wait, it can't. How does the head have
Yeah.
5 faces? And one of them. What if it turns? Why can't we see it? Maybe it does need to be like scratched out or something.
Scratched out would make sense. The other answer is the goddess can just put the face that it wants forward, and it never puts that one forward.
Oh, I like that.
The
DC
devotees count 5 on this one, but they only ever count 4 on this one.
DC
but it
15
doesn't look right.
DC 15 perception check. You stop and you realize that there's one face you never see. No
Yeah.
matter what happens, there is a 10th face that never goes forward. What does the wisp face look like?
Great question. Hadn't considered the fact that we've got sort of a formless race. I could see like a glow.
Yeah, just a bright
That's
spot.
the natural face that this god has is just a bright glow in like an inlaid circle, and
Can I-
that's to show its people.
Can I do a little shift?
Mhm.
Huge shift.
ahead.
Thea is a like floating blue orb with like masks that orbit like planets.
Pretty fun. I think it's
I'm
cool.
just trying to think of a way to logistically do this, right? Maybe one of the faces is just, it's a god. We can just say it's a bright light.
Yeah.
And if somebody's like, well, what do you mean? You're like, I need you to understand. Your character is seeing something that makes sense to them. And it is that one of these collections of 5 faces, one of the faces is just a bright light. And I know it doesn't make sense to you. That's because you're not there. It would make sense if you were there.
Yeah, you could see it. I'm stuck in Welcome to Derry, which I just finished 5 minutes
seen
ago.
I was about after this stream, I was going to ask if you guys watched it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm
I
thinking of the
haven't yet.
Deadlights. So from it, chapters
Yeah.
1 and 2, I'm thinking of the
Deadlights.
Deadlights. And that's sort of what I picture. I think that the 5 faces on 2 heads is fun. That's my vote. Michael, what do you think?
I like that it's very biblical angel.
Yeah. It's not good to look at.
Yeah, I enjoy the 2 heads, 5 faces, and I really like the idea where it doesn't rotate; it does just shift.
Yeah. Whoom, whoom, whoom.
And are we going with kind of like a many-armed? I'm imagining the head. The body. I'm imagining all of that attached to is a like 2 high arms, 2 mid arms, 2 low arms, all in poses kind of deal, right? I mean, that's just I think quite natural.
And I think when Thea's trying not to be super upsetting, the arms would probably all be like enrobed. So it's not, oh my god, there's so many faces and arms. It's just
I think the default appearance of Thea is one of the races. Is Thea appears as an elf or a human, or I think that the party rolls up and here it is. I got it. I found it in the middle of my sentence. I think the party rolls up and I think the dwarf sees a dwarf and the elf sees a sees an elf. And I think the changeling sees a kaleidoscope of arms and heads and faces, and to the changeling it is a beautiful sight, and they know they are the only one to see it. And then it's like, oh, who's that coming up around the way there? Oh, it's the dragonborn with true sight.
It's perfect.
And that poor son of a bitch sees the real thing and immediately goes blind or whatever. Like,
yeah, that's changelings, right? I don't think I
need to know domains.
Oh. So number 1, we gotta have like probably lies, but lies also encompass storytelling.
Well, I think we should. Well, the question is, do we want to save that? And are we rounding the corner on a god who's kind of evil or duplicitous? Like, if changelings view lies of omission and kindness as being good, are we going to have the devils? Like, are we going to have somebody whose god is like survival and lies and just is the god? Because in my mind, the god of survival would be the god where it's like, lie. Why? What the fuck do you mean? Lie if you have to.
No, get out of there.
Do whatever you need to do.
I think we could have a god of small lies and a god of big lies.
It's not small and big. It's
It's
well-intentioned
white and black.
and ill-intentioned.
Yeah.
A story
Either.
is a lie. It's just a lie we all like. And so I like the idea that they are seen as wholly different. I think that maybe in Wispish, it's 2 different words. A lot of the other species have the same word. I think wisps have a word for what we would think of as a positive lie, and it is seen as a wholly separate thing than a malicious lie. They are seen as so different that they have different words and different associations.
I think that for laymen, so for like common, it would be this is the god of stories and that's the god of lies. Stories is probably more malleable than most of the species view it as. It does encompass white lies, things that are just entertaining, whereas the other one does not encompass that. So different words for wisps, but stories and lies for everybody
So
else.
stories, connection. Anything else?
Funny. God of
find it
Gab.
funny.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
connection, I think, would be.
Ooh, James has hit us with, instead of stories, fables, hidden truths.
I like that. Yeah.
Mm, Fables was fun.
Domain of Gab.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of connection a little bit, right? That's like social wheeling and dealing, being this sort of, affable, generous character, really kind of, at the end of the Christmas Carol, Scrooging your way through life, I think is pretty solid.
Yeah, the only other thing it's pulling from Hermes a little bit, but the domain of messaging. I think if you're a messenger or something, you pray to this god.
Yeah, so connection kind of has a communication.
I would
link
travel.
to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Travel's
I
good.
could see adaptability, or travel. I think travel is pretty fun because this is the most nomadic people we've come up with by far.
I like travel because I want to make one of these gods with adaptability full tilt. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Maybe it is changeling. Do we want to save travel? Do we think that maybe...
Mark both of them down on that note for now, and if we get to somebody, we can swap one out because we're gonna want one of them for somebody else for sure.
I'm going to just write pick one. All right, how are we doing on time, boys?
It is 9:06.
24? I think we got time for one more.
We can get a people's done.
Mm.
So,
I think elves are our
Is it
next
elf
thing that
time?
we've sort of touched on.
okay. Can they please
First
be
off-
carnivores? Can they please
Oh.
only eat meat? It's my favorite bit in fantasy. No, Spencer, what do you think?
I see these elves as ent-like. They're super tall, very strong, and they're not herbivores. They're trees. They're descended from trees, I guess. They're made from tree. So I think carnivores. Absolutely.
Do you think
Why would they
carnivore? Or do
eat
you think
themselves?
photosynthesis?
No, not photosynthesis. I think carnivore. They're a mortal race created from trees.
Okay, now Spencer, that's very different from the first thing you said. I like
Oh,
that.
I was aesthetically viewing like the ent timeline down to a humanoid form. So they are not like pale-skinned, pointy-eared people. It's like, no, they're tree people. Totally different.
How tree-ish are they now? I know, so they were made from trees. Are
Mhm.
we looking at something that would be comparable to like blights? Like these walking, like kind of dryad adjacent tree folk? Or am I seeing a very tall, ropey, thick skin? Like, am I seeing signs that they were descended from a plant? Or does this thing look like a carnivorous plant?
I think you're looking at a 9-foot tall dryad. It's a really treed up dryad.
So tall, lithe, strong. I'm gonna write down the like carnivorous plant. Oh, wait a minute. It's getting good. I'm seeing it here. So I think then they were born of, these plants, and the first of them had this will. Is this what elves have this reputation for being like beautiful, lithe, transcendent? Is that a predatory? Do they put off a sweet smell to lure things in? And now they don't. I'm not saying that they like go around and eat people, but maybe they do. Like maybe they that is how they lure.
They could.
That's how they lure in creatures outside. I like the idea that maybe they don't eat things they see as sentient because it is just cruel to them to some degree, right? But I like the idea that they're like, they smell good. Why? And then you see there's one at camp and it goes, I'm going to go hunting. And it strides 100 feet outside. And then you watch a deer slowly walk up and start like licking its shoulder, and it just like grabs it and snaps its neck. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, So
Yeah.
they're like sweet smelling, and maybe there is this confusing, like, you're looking at it. I want to be very clear about what's happening. I can imagine myself as a GM being like, you're looking at a 7 foot tall, bark skinned, like vine haired tree person. And it's like, and like, is your face warm? Like, it's like visiting, an external, like, why do I think it's pretty? Why do I think it's hot? And it's like,
It doesn't make any sense.
hey, it's like a pheromone hunting tool. Like, it makes itself appealing.
This is such a fun twist on siren songs and sirens, where it's not sirens and it's not singing, it's plant creatures with pheromones. But in the same way that sailors would be out on their ship and get called into the water by a beautiful woman, probably like a seal or whatever the fuck, in the woods, traveling caravans to these terrible locations would be drawn away from the trail, not on purpose most of the time. It's just they got drawn off the trail, and then they were killed by something else. It wasn't actually the elf that did it. It just went off a beaten path. So that's where they get sort of that siren reputation.
So, now I have a very annoying and boring question. And I'm not kidding, it is. So in our world, carnivores eat relatively rarely, and they spend most of their time laying around doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of energy that they store doing what they do. Do we want that to be true, or are we going to ignore it because it creates huge problems logistically?
Yeah, I think we keep it because I'm thinking of like trees. They're forever still. They're patient. They don't move. That goes along the lines of carnivores don't eat much. They wait.
I
store.
totally agree. I think if elves live to be like 150, and part of the reason why is that they just lounge about like lionesses on the pride, hell yeah. Hell yeah. And they don't need to work hard. The prey's coming to them.
Okay.
I do think 150 is like our top end of lifespan, though.
Yeah, we can say that elves, we can say that our inorganic races, the elves and the dwarves, live the longest. And if you saw one, you'd go, oh, yeah, it does. Look at this fucking thing. It's a 7 foot tall tree. Okay, so they are this like lounging kind of restful people. I like the idea that this also tells me why adventurers are adventurers. An elf who is like really active is seen as wasting energy. So an elf who wants to go explore and do things and doesn't want to hunt something and rest are seen as like kind of grating in a like you're wasting energy, you're wasting resources kind of way. Is that an angle? That's the angle I'm moving in. What do we think elven society is like, right? If they are, you know, these like hyper carnivores.
I feel like in a weird way it is similar to the typical fantasy elves because they are slow and regal and just go about doing their business as they see fit, like pretty calmly.
I'm almost getting a like, this is gonna sound weird, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm getting like an Elizabethan, like aristocrat vibe, where it's like, I lay on the couch in the garden and I look at the branches and no, I've heard too much bad news today. Please leave my nerves. Like, and somebody who is seen of like Pride and Prejudice's entire thing is that the like central female character in Pride and Prejudice is too overactive, goes for a walk, and everybody's like, oh God, like everybody around them is like disgusting. I Spencer, I do see what you're going for here. There is this like gracious and graceful, like I'm learning the violin. And you're like, great.
Cool.
What else are you up to? I said I was learning the violin. Like,
that's it. It's going to take me 15 years.
like, okay.
Just like regular elves.
You're like, okay.
My pitch for the city is this is the biggest city, not in like the amount of people, but just size wise, mass wise, because I again, Vito, if you want, I think that these things, pheromones can impact each other, so they don't want to be close.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. If they put out
Or are
slight
they
variations
all immune to it? Yeah.
it's either they're all immune to it and they still spread out pretty wide because they've had so long to do it, or if there's like distinct sections of their society that put out slightly different pheromones that other ones are weak to. If there's like 6 variations and those are the sub communities within this massive city and they don't go around to the other sides because they are affected, would be kind of interesting. It'd be like inner city politics.
No, there's a perfect in your family group. The spores don't work so that you don't have incest kids.
Yeah.
I think that probably within your family group, people smell kind of bad. There's a natural like distancing. It's very funny to think if elves with other people are very close and want to like and like will touch their arm, but elves within their families stay like a good
20 feet
it's
back.
like a good distance. If the thought of like an an elf is really close to you emotionally when they stop sitting next to you at dinner, when they start sitting like diagonal to you, that is when you're like,
now
what's that like the elf in our party won't sit near me anymore. No, we're not doing
what's
this.
wrong? He hates me.
Yeah.
That's fun. I also could see if I was making a character and I made an elf and I was like orphaned and that's why I started my adventuring life. If at one point I was out and about and like the DM described my elf smelling something bad and he like recoiled from it, but it was a family member, sick lead in to backstory stuff.
Yeah.
That it's a family member. They're gonna stink bad to you. Just he's never experienced it. And then, yeah, it would be like subcategories. So in the wards of the city, these people all typically smell this way. And this family and this family and this family and this family are the major developments of that area.
It also does a really good job of just got into D&D and I want some tips or tricks maybe, or some things that maybe could help me as a beginner making stories or helping keep my players engaged.
Fun.
One of my big tips is number 1, as far as player engagement, ask your players what they want to do before you start. If your players want to go kill orcs in the woods, they'll tell you probably. If they want to do a political intrigue game where they have to carefully talk to people, get them to tell you. And if they're like, well, I don't really know, it's worth being like, no, stop. Like, what books do you like to read? What stories do you like to watch? You can start to pin down what they like. And then my advice number 2, a little bit of a high hurdle. Take it slow. If a player tries to do something, try to go in that direction instead of the direction of whatever you wrote down on a sheet of paper. If you wrote down on a sheet of paper, they need to talk to the butler to get inside the house. And then one of the players is like, I go buy a rope and a grappling hook. And the kobold goes, and I get the Goliath to pick me up. Don't panic and try to figure out how they're going to get interrupted by the NPC you made. Take your note sheet, look at it lovingly, cross out that butler, and start going. You throw the grappling hook onto the roof. As it lands, you hear guards. Like, lean in the direction they want to go. And that, I think, is the best way to keep them engaged. If the players start, like, robbing a store or whatever, this just happened. I was running a game for Spencer and some other people in person. And I set up this quest for them to go to this arcane college and help them find a stolen item. The party immediately started trying to figure out how much they could steal without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
A knee-jerk reaction would be to go, oh no, and have a guard show up and be like, what are you doing? To try to get them on course. Instead, back up a little bit and go, all right, what are you looking for? And fully lean in, like go in the direction they want to go in. Outside of that, watch many of our countless streams that you can watch back on YouTube and give yourself a little bit of a slice of what it's like to come up with adventures and come up with hooks. Right now, we're coming up with the species and gods of our world, you know, getting an idea for what that looks like. We knew we wanted our elves to be tall, lithe, and strong because that's fun. We wanted them to be kind of alien. Spencer hit us with his first request. I want them to be made from trees. I want them to have bark skin and long limbs and to be vines and roots and those things. I wanted them to be carnivorous because I think it's always very cool if elves just only eat meat and that's why they hold trees and plants as sacred. And now we've ended up with these like pheromone, sweet smelling elves that pull in prey. And if that prey is sentient, they go, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is so embarrassing. Go back to the road. I'll walk you back. This happens. I apologize. I was hunting in those woods. So what I was going to say is, if elves spread these, like, if they stay in family groups because the pheromones don't affect each other, and so it doesn't interact things like commerce, right? It's hard to buy something from somebody if the whole time you're there, you're like, you can't look at them super direct. I think it also helps us understand why elven society takes so long to do everything. Is it's like, I can't just go over there. Why? I can't politic with them. I'm going to fall in love with them when I walk in the room. I need to talk to my cousin. My cousin knows his brother, and then his brother can talk to him, and that's how we have to do this.
We write a letter, but we have to let it air out outside for 5 to 7 days. Then it can be picked up in a dead drop from one of their servants.
Yeah, if everything takes
This
forever.
is my family's changeling. They do the communicating.
They go and they talk. That's so funny.
The wisp,
Changelings being hyper set in here, the wisps. Yeah.
especially because a changeling can roll up and introduce themselves to the one elf and to make themselves look like that specific like subcategory, and then they send like, okay, send one of your relatives outside, and all that relative does is go outside and have a polite conversation with the changeling. Then the changeling can shift into a member of that family and then go inside. Is hysterical.
What a fun in between.
But so yeah, I like that this is also why elven society is so slow. They live like 1.5 times as long, not enough that it messes with timelines, but enough that it's like, what if you live to be 150? What if your 20s didn't end until you were 40? How long would you spend like, I think I'm gonna learn to paint? Like how much more time would you devote to stupid shit and to like getting things
this
done?
is a really fun ramification of this. Elves and dwarves famously don't get along because of J.R. Tolkien. That's his doing. In this world, elves and dwarves wouldn't get along necessarily because elves live long enough that they would never devote themselves to one thing.
Ever.
They would get tired of it. So 99% of them won't. So the dwarven god doesn't bless the elves most of the time. There might be a few, there's always a few, but that being sort of a cultural impasse is a hilarious happenstance that we've done here.
I also like that they're also carnivorous, so being underground's like it's not just awful.
Not gonna
They
work.
can only do it for like a day.
Yeah.
If they bring rations, they can stay. To them, there is no difference than there is to staying outside in the middle of the tundra, where it's like, all right, I spent 4 days hunting a porcupine. Like, it got me with its quills.
So the negative to being an elf is the pheromone thing, which is pretty fun because it gives, we could say, you know, statistically, it probably gives some sort of boost to charisma. But roleplay wise, it's not always going to be fun.
I don't think it's strong enough to make people. I think maybe we could also include that maybe historically it used to be stronger. Maybe before their god went to sleep, it was strong enough to make somebody leave the path and walk into the woods. In the years since their god has begun to slumber, now it's enough that like it's enough that people in politics are like, I'm not going to go make a business deal with him. Why? I'm going to be on the losing foot. We both are. we're both going to be idiots in that room. The thought where it's like, imagine if every time you went to work and you had to have a meeting with somebody, you knew that you were both going to be flustered. Not like in love, not about to climb onto the table and push the papers off, but just like you're sweaty, you want them to like you want to make a good impression to the point that it's like unnatural. You're like,
Yeah.
every time you misstep and flub and stutter, you're like, I'm going to walk into fantasy traffic. Like, it's just uncomfortable and hard and difficult and stupid. I think it'd be very interesting.
That is
Okay.
Two things. Brambles is in chat.
Woo.
Hey, Brambles, let us know if you want us to use real name or Brambles. 'Cause we know Brambles, but I don't know if Brambles wants to use real name.
Brambles is our boy for real.
Yes. But he said only grubs and earthworms for the underground elves. That'd be such a shitty.
They send out the pheromones and like 78 worms come out and they're like, ah.
Elves
I
not
guess.
tasty.
On a good day, they get like a mole. Yeah. I
Um,
get it.
And then the second part I was gonna say the really good elves for hunting they're probably notorious for like setting up signs for the sentient beings like
No
don't
trespassing.
hunting going on. Something like that.
This also tells me that, like, because they're carnivorous, some really gross stuff. This also tells me that, like, elves' mouths are big. Like, they have the corners of their mouth go further back than ours would. Their teeth are sharp. Their bottom jaw would slightly jut out from the rest of their face instead of being recessed like ours. Their eyes would be forward facing like ours, but they would probably like reflect like a cat's do. Like, elves are probably really creepy, and the worst part about them is then when you get close enough, they stop being creepy. I think that maybe that's a good way to put it. If you were to meet a stranger that's an elf, somebody who would normally you're wary around anybody you don't know too well. If you would have that from a distance, and then when you got too close, it would be like meeting a random person. It's not enough to make you immediately like them, but it's enough to have you immediately be like, yeah, let's have a conversation. And your other party members that are watching through binoculars are like, he's talking to them. What? He just walked up to the campfire. Like, he just...
It's like an aura of calm emotion.
Yeah, it's enough to make you throw caution to the wind and be like, I bet we can chat this out.
It's like you took 1.5 shots right when you smell them.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. Okay. Society is slow and slowed by pheromones and flighty. I like that. I like the idea that you are expected to take on new interests and, glide through these various things. Being extremely direct is seen as very rude. In the opposite way to changelings, like just walking up to somebody in the street and starting a conversation with them in elven society, they'd be like, ugh! They'd be like, ew! You have not spent the customary 32 minutes introducing yourself to me. I'm running a campaign soon, and my boy cousins like D&D, but I don't really know how to introduce it to my girl cousins to make it sound fun. Any advice? My main advice would be to do the exact same thing. Change nothing.
Yeah.
Are they interested
I think it's the boy cousins were previously interested, and their girl cousins were not previously interested, not introduced by chat. Here's how I always pitch D&D. You are playing make-believe with your friends and telling a story together. So whether those stories are like fantasy stories or stories that they enjoyed when they were younger, etc., 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 or like, oh, this movie, right? Wouldn't it be cool if you got to tell a story like this movie that you love? We, as a group, are going to make characters and play out those stories together. You get to make believe, you get to slay the dragon, you get to save people from danger, and you get to play. Like, it's just a cool thing. And that's how I always pitch it.
I agree. Spencer is completely correct. My number one thing, if you then get them to sit at the table, do not go here's how to make a character. Here's what a D20 test is. That is a terrible idea. Ask them, if you really want to, ask them what kind of character they want to play loosely. Make the character for them. Hand them the sheet and go, don't worry about this sheet. Ignore this sheet. I'm going to describe a situation. You tell me what you want to do, and then I'll tell you which shape of dice to roll and what number to add to it. Do not. I've seen so many people do the thing where they're like, you need to strength and constitution, do this and this, and here's how you generate stats. No. Say, what kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to do spells? Do you want to not do spells? What do you want to do in combat? And then just make them a character that's level 1. Hand them the sheet and go, ignore that sheet. We're going to just start. And then say, you're in a tavern. This guy comes in. They've got the blacksmith. They've stolen the blacksmith and his weapons. And then you're like, great, we need to go get the blacksmith back from these goblins. And then when they eventually say all right, I look around. Can I go look at a shop? Say, yes, you can. Roll the 20-sided die and add this number and point to their investigation or perception. And then just have them do it. Don't explain. Just go do this. Here's what you're doing right now. Explain it very quickly, and then move on to the next thing. It's going to be much cleaner than trying
and
to
they will know how to play D&D within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's the way to do it.
You'll run into weird shit all the time where it's I'm chasing them. And you have to be well, we have to compare your speed. That's going to happen. But just save that stuff. Yeah. So number 1, pitch it as storytelling with your friends, and the dice make it random, and that adds fun. You don't know what's going to happen. And then once they get started, just let them go and then tell them what shape of die to roll. I actually really recommend ChessX, the big dice company. Their cheapest dice set is the original dice set, and the dice are all different colors.
So you can say, roll the white dice.
Yep. It's $6 for that set, and you just say, roll the white die. Add the number next to perception on the left-hand side of your sheet.
Hell, if you could color coordinate the numbers to add even.
Yeah. Now,
it'd be harder, but
also maybe consider playing a different game than one of the most complicated war games currently on the market, Dungeons and Dragons. But I get it. It's the popular one. It's on Stranger Things.
It's the buy-in. D&D is a gateway drug to other TTRPGs.
So Elven society is slow. It is slowed because of these pheromones, because they are flighty and they are encouraged to take on new things and always be, chasing new experiences. How do elves interact with other groups?
I do have one other thing. Brambles was in chat. He said, what sort of mask or air filter could stop the pheromone effect?
Probably none that exist in this world.
Yeah, if they have invented the KN95 mask, Brambles, this world is different than what I'm imagining. I think the best you could get, what I would probably say is if you soak a rag in a sweet oil and put it over your face.
Pure alcohol. Breathing in vodka.
You can probably cut the edge off with a sweet perfume or something that will occlude your senses. I think even that is going to just help a little. I think no matter what, it's getting tipsy.
I'm imagining it's almost inhale it. It's also through your pores. There's some stuff with sight. It's Brandon's also pre-game those 2 shots then.
I get extra drunk.
So how do they interact with other people? I want to say the first one. I think that elves have I like the idea that they have an almost therapeutic role for a lot of the other species. I like the idea that going to talk to an elf about problems you have is very easy because you feel kind of buzzed and it's easy to share. And so I think that elves have the reputation they have in the rest of fantasy for being wise, and they give sage advice. And in real life, it's that you were kind of drunk on elf pheromones, and they were like, why don't you tell your girlfriend that you're mad? And you were like, bro, you're so smart. And then
you already knew the answer.
Yeah.
The elf just got you a little drunk, and then you wanted to do the answer you already knew.
So I think that's one of the things I think is that chatting, having a conversation with an elf, I think is something that they could almost charge for. Share your issues with me. I imagine them almost the reputation that geishas have, where it's a professional person to have a conversation, play a game. Maybe like
Yeah, maybe.
and depending on where you are in society, that shifts and changes. Spencer, what were you gonna say? That's my addition.
I love the idea that because it gets you a little drunk and it's so fun to chat with, changelings are like kicking down the door to every elf establishment in the world.
Please!
They're like, please let me in, please. I won't be annoying, I swear.
I just have questions. I mean, listen, Bot Breezy 94, you got a point. It's D&D's a hard pitch, man. It's a big, complicated fucking game. Making your character takes hours. Literally, like rolling the die, figuring out what you want to do, picking your spells, picking spell. Somebody says you're a they want to be a wizard, and you're like, great, pick 24 spells. Pick 24 spells you like. It's a tough sell.
Yeah.
Check out
Honestly,
check out Monster of the Week, check out Morkborg, check out Shadow Dark. Like, there's all kinds of get up and go games that are much faster, that you can just pick up and immediately like make your way halfway down the road playing.
the strongest pitch you could make to somebody who's reticent to joining a D&D game is being in close proximity to those people and having fun with the people that said yes to playing the game. If your cousins are seeing your other cousins have a great time, they're more likely to join in. Rather than being like, we're going to play a make-believe game, that doesn't get everybody. But when they see people laughing and enjoying it and talking about the character they're playing, it's an easier sell.
Just say like,
so sometimes that happens.
Just say like, hey, sit in on the game. Just
yeah,
sit.
watch a little bit.
Listen, if you get curious about something, ask us what we're doing. Ask us what somebody just did. They'll explain it. And seriously, maybe take a peek at like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of other examples here. You know, Blades in the Dark. There's a lot of games that are just easier to run. If you've got
Monster of the Week is my #1 recommendation for a quick, easy game. It doesn't give you the same like fantasy vibe at all, but if you're trying to introduce people to TTRPGs, it's the best game I can think of for that.
If you want to spend money on a game with a lot of physical components, it is a good game, but I can't believe how bad they fucked it up by board gaming it. Check out Daggerheart. It's the big one that Critical Role made. It's a great game. It comes with like a deck of cards you have to use to make your character, which is the thing I hate about that game. But it is well received and it seems very fun. It's just, it has a very physical component. We gotta move on if we're gonna finish this, so I am sorry, but we are done talking about this.
Michael
has a grand insight.
I have one last little thing
Then
to add.
say
it. Yeah, if you want, even like minimize it even more, do like a one pager. I can't.
RPG.
Yeah, one page RPG, like something really small. To
Like
get
the last
over-
Thanksgiving, say. Don't actually do that. That's not a good one-page RPG to introduce people to tabletop role-playing games.
It might be, man.
True.
Check out arts.io. So what is elven interaction with other societies like? So we know the interpersonal level, right? Chatting with an elf, people will say like, if you're looking for guidance, speak to an elf. They don't understand what they're saying is like, go get drunk. They're saying like, take the edge off, talk to somebody, and you'll be able to share your feelings. I really like that. I like that maybe in elven culture, because they're aware of the pheromones, there's probably a tradition of like, if somebody shares a secret with you in elven culture, it's probably traditional to like keep that very close to your chest as an elf. Or it's like, yeah, you're going to keep that very private because you know that people would say things to you that they would never say to anybody else. So, but then take a step back. What is it like for an elven city to interact with a kobold city? Like, what are they like in those interactions? Are they expansionist carnivores? Are there friendly elves that you will talk to and that are seen as very charming? And there are elves that will eat a guy? Like, what is that like? Are they more
enough?
I kind of like the idea that maybe, I'm not super attached to this, but one of the ideas I had is elven society is the most, like, different. You run into one enclave of elves, and they might be very friendly and social, and they want to share and speak with you, and they hunt the animals of the woods. And then you run into a different one, and there are, like, skulls on posts. And, like, there aren't signs that say, be careful. Like, don't walk this way. Somebody might be hunting there. You might get yourself into a dangerous situation. Maybe there aren't signs.
It's really cool because it kind of reminds me of like lizard folk, where it's like, oh yeah, we eat people. Some of us, I don't. Not me, but like my cousins, yes.
Yeah, the redwoods over there. Just be a little careful over.
If you
with them.
see a big X on a tree, don't go that way. That's all I'm gonna say.
And I
Don't go
think
that way.
What I think the big benefit there is those elves would not be incentivized to hunt thinking people. Right? That they would not, there's not a lot to be gained there unless they fancy themselves hunters or sportsmen and they want the challenge. Maybe that happens. The like hyper hunting focused groups will do that. But I think the vast majority are like, "Oh, don't go there." Why? They're not going to go hunt people. But if you're there, you're an animal. You're like a deer or a rabbit or a raccoon or a squirrel. You are no different to them than anything else they might see. So just don't go there.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's the real thing. Is it's like, no, that's just not a place for you to be. Like, that's just not a place for you to go. If you go there and they see you, you are food. That's how they will think of you. They will think of you the way that you think of cows. If you're lucky, they might even think you're kind of cute. They might feel bad. That doesn't mean they're not going to kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. So that tells me one thing, and that is that the elven god is the god of the hunt.
Huge.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of time left. We don't. Oops.
Nope.
I got sidetracked in
Nope.
our conversation. Do we want to wrap
Yeah.
up with the god quick, or do we want to shuffle on?
Let's give
we
it 2 other domains and then
And then, yeah.
end.
Let's give it
So
2
we got
domains.
the
If we're going to
hunt.
do the 2 domains, I want to do a dash of what this thing looks like and what it acts like. But we can just, it'll be a sprinkle. So, the hunt. This is, when you hunt, you pray to this god. Regardless of what you're hunting, where you are, what species you belong to, you offer a prayer. What are the other 2 things for this god of these people that have many interests and that lounge and spend long times studying and then go in to eat?
Leisure.
That's fun.
pretty
Work hard, play
fun.
hard.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. And it makes perfect sense because we describe them as like lioness-esque. Lioness.
That's powerful.
Lionesque.
That's good. Lion-esque.
That's the name of the god. No. What else? What would be
So
the
the
third
hunt. So the hunt is one facet of these people. I think that's very valid. Leisure and calm is another. I could see if I'm looking at what we know about them and what this god gave them. Nature, tree stuff. This pheromone luring stuff is what's left.
one?
So is it the god of the hunt, leisure, and calm, and nature, like plants and growth? It's kind of a big domain, but I'm not opposed
Yeah.
to it. What do we think?
Like greenery is too specific. You know what I mean? Like that, it feels strange to be like the trees and the plants and leaves under greenery, but nature does feel too expansive.
I want to leave nature to a different group.
Okay, interesting.
Can it be the god of plants?
Yeah, I think that that's a good enough catch-all.
Or is it just... Is there something more... like elemental? Like the blossoming pollen? Is there something
Sort of a
there?
fae thing.
Yeah. It's fun to be like, the god of elves is not the god of nature, but if a spring, what is the god of, maybe this third thing is just really hard to describe, where it's like, if you were walking through a field of like beautiful wheat, the elven god is not the god of the wheat, and it's not the god of the field, and it's not the god of the dirt, but if a breeze comes through and it like plays across the top of the wheat and you smell the sweet smell of the pollen, that's what it's the god of. Like that moment is what it is. It's not the plant, it's not
It's like
the
an
pollen.
experience.
It's that moment. It's that like
Yeah.
seizing, like grab it. That moment when nature grabs your senses and attention. I don't mind being like, this is the god of two things that are easy to grasp, and a third really hard to grasp thing.
Yeah, I think the god of experience is kind of cool.
Yeah.
The god of like the act of touching the natural world, almost.
Hmm.
When a
Yeah,
bear,
again, it's
you know how bears will look at beautiful waterfalls?
mhm.
Like, this is a thing. You can
Like
look this up. There is a debate if bears are fully conscious in the way that humans are, and if we need to stop messing with bears, because a bear will, like, seemingly sit and look at a beautiful vista and just look at it to look at it. Like, is there something about that connection, that moment of, like, looking, gazing?
I think off stream, I'm going to try and find the perfect word for experiencing like moments of pure bliss in nature.
So to briefly talk about
Avant-garde.
what we want this thing to look like and like maybe what it's like to interact with it, I know I always beat this drum. I kind of want this thing to be terrifying. I kind of want this thing to be like a
Its creation
giant
is
wolf
really
man.
gross.
Like a really
Yeah.
big creepy wolf man. Like,
I think that works.
I'm almost imagining like if I could to give like a really specific pull, like in the Cthulhu mythos and weird tales, like Itlashwa, like the mother of the Wendigoax kind of deal, like this crazy, tall, strange, toothy creature.
I like it, especially because this god, when it was taking its form, knew that with the death of the first god, nature was going to be gross and terrible and awful because it was going to be bastardized by the corpse of that god. So it took on a form of ferocity, and it gave its creatures, like its beings, the elves, forms of control and allure and strength to resist those things is very cool. If this is the most terrifying god, but
So
that's
it's-
the reason why, very
And
fun.
I like that. So dire creatures in this world are creatures directly connected to and blessed by this god.
Mhm.
And I kind of like the like whatever this thing's name is, it translates into common into like mother wolf. It is this
Yeah.
like it is a predator of predators. It is a like truly harsh and strange thing. I think is really cool. All right,
Oh,
I think Michael, go ahead.
Brambles said he was trying to give a word for it, natural connections.
Connections, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say when I say it's the god of getting high in the forest. Like,
Yeah.
it's the god of taking an edible and going on a hike. It's such a weird. It's like that's what I mean. I can't think of a better way to put it.
He said, or maybe the green space. And it's almost. We'll definitely look more into it. because
I love the
there's
idea
something.
that many of these gods, if you commune with them, you are in a beautiful palace, you're in a forge, you're in a smithy. If you commune with this thing, whatever we end up naming it, if you commune with Mother Wolf, you are in a dark forest. And you can feel, you see that like you're surrounded by these massive like sequoia trees, these titanic like redwoods, and you can see like vaguely in the shadows that like leaning against one of the branches in the tree is a creature that is at rest, and that you know if it moved it could kill you in an instant, where it's like this is a god of rest and hunting. It is a god of the beauty of nature and what you should be afraid of in nature. So the thought that it's like you feel two feelings at once. You are seeing something beautiful, you want to take a nap, and you are the most scared you have ever been in your entire life. Like you are absolutely petrified. Some deep part of you is telling you to turn around and run, but you know if you turn your back to this, it might kill you just on instinct. Pretty cool. All right,
Pretty
folks.
cool.
thank you so much for watching DM Writer's Room, a show where we demystify the DMing process by coming up with monsters, magic items, and worlds live. I hope you got enough to get a little bit of interesting pull on what we were talking about today. Make sure you like and subscribe. Stick around. We do these every week. Every Tuesday, we have DM Writer's Room. Every Sunday, we have Game Masters, Masters of Games, where you can check out us playing video games. Unless we're really into Magic for a couple weeks, and then you can watch us play Magic like we're doing right now. Safe to assume we'll be jumping off to some other stuff in the not too distant future. There's some video games coming up that I am just so excited for. They just announced the sequel to Control. I thought I was going to climb out of my skin when I saw that trailer. And
Yeah.
Total War Warhammer 40K got announced. Come
Yo.
on. Really cool, really interesting stuff coming down the pipe in video game world. So we probably will have some stuff to play. Most importantly, check us out on Spotify. With the holidays, things have slowed down a little bit, but you can check out, theoretically, our Monday release, right, is Leviathan's Wake right now. That is our actual play. The system is Blades in the Dark. We are playing in the world of Duskfall. We are following a group of cultists to the great anglerfish Lofadai as they try to resurrect their dead god. Really fun. It's already completely recorded. Spencer is editing and posting those as we are going through the rest of this season. We took a little bit of a hiccup because there's a lot of travel and a lot of back and forth and things going on. So but safe to say that we'll be back on call soon, and not that long after, we're gonna be moving on to new and exciting vistas in other directions. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace out. Stay foolish.